You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Jenaia Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Jenaia Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again, and today, man, we have a special guest. Her name is Jenaia. Nicole, you probably heard her on 9:30 a.m. The Answer radio station right here in San Antonio, Texas. And this show, man, it's going to be interesting because we're going to learn about Jenaia and Nicole behind the mic of her show, Sports by the Numbers, a.k.a. SBTN Family, is what I heard and saw on social media. So we're going to learn all about what is her background story. And maybe if she's cool with it, we don't have to sign up for a master class. You can teach some inspiring radio hosts how to market themselves and get themselves out there, because it is a brand, it is a lifestyle. So without further ado, let's welcome Jenaia to Nicole and say how you doing and tell us about you.
Yes, my name is Jenaia Nicole. I am from the Chicagoland area, but I currently reside in San Antonio, Texas. Been here for almost 7 years. So, Jenaia Nicole, I love sports. I'm going to fast rewind to a couple years ago, 2019. I did a radio contest called ESPN Rock the Mic, and I was first runner-up out of 100 men, right? And I was like, okay, this is something. Now, this whole time since I've been in Texas, I've been trying to work for a professional sports organization. I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. I actually, right before I moved to San Antonio, I got married at the Chicago White Sox field when it was US Cellular Field, right? And so from there, I was like, I want to work in sports, right? But how do you do that? How do you just get to work for a professional sports team? So throughout this whole time, I'm working for the Spurs, the Houston Texans, San Antonio Commanders. I work the men's Final Four. Like I work the UTSA football games. I'm getting all this sports experience. And I'm like, you know, what's happening? Part-time jobs, not the full-time job, right? And so I did that contest. And literally in 2019, I said, maybe God is saying, I don't want you. The reason I haven't given you a full-time sports position for professional sports organization is because I want you on the radio talking about sports, right? And so I'm like, okay. So of course it's all in his timing. Fast forward, I guess, a year and a half later, there's another sports show on 9:30 a.m. The Answer called The Sports Dime. And I had gotten in touch with Carolina T. She's from the Chicago area. And we just kept in touch. And I called her up and I said, hey, how do you get a radio show? How do you make that happen? And she was like, hey, we did this. Here's the number. Go, you know what I mean? Like, okay, this is a process. And I came in and did my demo, I think early December. And I rocked it. And now, we had to wait, but it was like, it's great already. We could tell. And so it was just the logistics of getting everything set up, right? Like, okay, you got to sign a contract, you get a website, take a photo, it's a whole thing, right? You don't realize how much goes into it until you actually start doing it. And so January 18th, 2021 on MLK Day, okay, I became the first African-American woman to host her own sports radio show in San Antonio, Texas. And I've just been moving ever since. I have what I would say to growing to be the claim to fame, the SBTN Hot Seat, where we test your sports knowledge on your favorite sports teams. And we have had a big guest this week. Actually, we have coming up former MLB player for he was former shortstop for Baltimore Orioles, Atlanta Braves, and San Diego Padres. Okay, so we got him coming up. We're going to put him in the hot seat, test his knowledge. We've also had former NFL players, a former NBA player. So we're just rolling right through.
And once again, listen to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to Jenaia Nicole. The Jenaia Nicole is why I tell people it's always an exclusive on this show. And You stated you're the first African-American in San Antonio, the female to host her show on radio right here in San Antonio, Texas. And I mean, the debut was right out the gate, MLK Day. So like that's pretty dope. And when you have that mindset though, because I see you working all like nonstop. When you have that mindset that this is just a starting point, right? Like I have things that I'm trying to do down the road with this platform, and that's what it is. Your voice, it goes out all around Texas and on the podcast all around the world.
Yeah.
When you are having that vision, that mindset, what is the next vision step for Jenaia and Nicole?
So as I've been saying from the beginning, this it's still a big step for me. But as I grow, with the guests, I want Drake on my show, right? Everybody knows he's a crazy Toronto Raptors fan. He's crazy for us Toronto teams. Like, I want him on my show. I want him to go into SPTNC as we're working up. But I definitely know that San Antonio is not the last stop. We want to see this go. I lived in California before, back in 2010. I lived in LA, loved it. I just had to come back home because I had a better job opportunity. But I'm trying to get back to Cali. And not only, this is the part that I always, if I want to not forget, but you're so focused on sports by the numbers. I'm also a business owner, entrepreneur, right? Jenaia Nicole Productions, right? LLC. And so this is not the only show, right? This is where we're getting started. But in the works, there's a wedding show, a Christian show. There's a book. I'm behind the scenes working for it all. But I know it all starts here, and I'm ready to grind and put in the work. And so just excited and just humbled and blessed that God has given me this opportunity.
And when you are looking back, because I want to dive deeper into the Chicago scene, because I think that's very interesting how you found your way here, is what a lot of people say in San Antonio. Like, so many people around the world and around the United States find themselves coming to San Antonio for some reason, which is dope. But let's go to where you came from, man. We're going to rep your city.
Okay.
Tell us the culture. Tell us what was traditions. What was it like growing up?
Yeah. So, represent Midwest, right? I tell everybody there's nothing like it. First of all, let me say, hey, San Antonio, y'all don't got anything on Chicago's food. Y'all could keep trying to get there. But I grew up 45 minutes away from Chicago, called Joliet, but always in Chicago, right? It's a 45-minute drive away. Growing up, and even going back to sports being ingrained in me. So if you live in Illinois, you're a Cubs fan or you're a White Sox fan, right? And so you're just born into it. My mom used to take me to Chicago White Sox games all the time with my friends. It just became like a way of life, to the point that I grew up to be an adult, and we're every year for my birthday, we're making sure we tailgate the White Sox game and then go in and have a good time. Like, Chicago life is Chicago life. The funny thing is that I actually, Wrigleyville, so Chicago Cubs, that's Northside, White Sox, Southside, so that's a whole thing. My best friend lived about 10 minutes away, so we would go there and just go and party and have a good time. I remember even going back, let's take it back to when I was like a teenager, 18, Club Mambos, I'm Milwaukee. Reggaeton was really big back then. Every Friday night, we're going to Club Mambos. We're jamming out, not probably coming home until about 4 a.m. It was just always, let's go to the city, have that city life. If you've ever been downtown Chicago, it's beautiful. Every year there was a taste of Chicago, right? So all the food, all the vendors, look at me going back to the food, all the food, all the vendors, everything you could want every year. You're by Buckingham Fountain. It's just everything. It's a way of life. I tell everybody I meet, I said, if you haven't been to Chicago, you need to get to Chicago. The vibe there, everything. I grew up on even just randomly going to music, but I grew up, even though I'm an 80s baby, but I grew up listening to like freestyle and house music. And so if like the Chicago, you know what I mean? Like the food or all that, it's just classic, right? And so that's a really big thing. And actually there's been a freestyle concert that didn't come this past year because, COVID, but the 2 years before that, they came every June. And I was like, yep, it's my birthday month. We're going to do it. It just took me back to my childhood of like trading mixtapes. And it was like, you got the blue and green tape and it's called like Sad Girl Part 3 by DJ Juan Too Big Perez. And like, it's the vibe. I get excited. I'm so excited that I could barely get through, but it's just, Chicago's a vibe, man. Like, I remember, like, again, being in college and, when Nextel was popular and we had our two ways and we was like hit, chirp, chirp and hit the corners, and like, I don't know. It's just so great memories. I always loved where I came from, but we had to get away from the snow, right? Get away from the snow.
Well, Ain't that much snow in Texas, man. So, and the funny thing is when you talk about, DJs and music and the scene and all that stuff and downtown and the taste of Chicago, man, we can't have you on this show and not talk about Chicago pizza. I mean, there's so much debate between, New York type pizza and Chicago type pizza. I mean, what's the real deal, man?
Come on. I mean, there's nothing better, right? So, of course, every maybe Chicagoan or people visit, okay, what's the best place? What's the place? I love Giordano's. I feel like it's between Giordano's or Illuminati's, but you got your deep dish, right? Very thick crust pizza, and the key is the sauce on the top, right? Sauce on the top, you got your cheese and your meat underneath, and then the sauce on the top. There is nothing like it. Now, I have found a place here in San Antonio called Trilogy, and they only do deep dish Chicago. They do New York and they do California, and it's pretty good. It is pretty. I will give Trilogy. If we got to give them out of 5 stars, I give them about 4. It's really pretty good. So I've taken other people there who've never what's this deep dish about? I'm like, hey, check it here. But when you go to Chicago, you got to go to Giordano's. Okay. That's where it is. Deep dish pizza, hands down. Let's talk about Portillo's, Italian beef. You want a piece of pub? I mean, just the hot dog, the Chicago. I mean, I'm telling you, San Antonio, whenever you want to catch up with your food game, talk to us. But yeah, deep dish all the way, Giordano's.
So fast forwarding back to you getting to Texas, man. I'm sure when you did you drive or did you fly?
we drove.
Because you already know going through Texas is like going through the whole country.
Basically.
Because it feels like, man, 8 hours and we still here. Man, what? So what was your first impression when you got to San Antonio? How did you, react to the culture here and just the vibe?
So what I will always say, and actually the reason, a little detour this, before we moved to San Antonio, we actually went to this really small town called Only, Texas, which is about 45 minutes away from Wichita Falls, Texas. So we were there, only ended up being there for 2 months, but I actually had to visit San Antonio. My mom has family friends here, and they've been here for 30 years or something like that. So we had visited a good, maybe 5-6 times. So one, we came here because we knew there's people we know, right? But let me tell you about Southern hospitality because it was there. This is what I tell everyone, I'm like, Texas people are San Antonians, so friendly, so welcoming. It's not oh, nice to meet you, shake your hand. It's nice to meet you, let me give you a hug, right?
A life story.
So, right?
Let me keep you for 2 hours.
Exactly.
Cancel your plans. That's funny.
It's totally different here. But it was wonderful, to be honest. Having already family friends here. One thing that, look, we're going to go back to the food. One thing that we were really shocked by is that, it's kind of, you have been here on vacation, but it's kind of really Tex-Mex. And so, you got to kind of go search for that hole in the wall, authentic Mexican food. But yeah, nothing but love. Every time somebody would ask me, I was like, Texas is different. It's different.
You got a variety. Wherever you want, you got it. It's big enough too, man.
Yeah. Look, San Antonio is so big. So as I joke with San Antonians and say, I'm used to driving, right? So I lived in a suburb of Chicago, but I would have to drive here, there, whatever, 45 minutes out to a job, something, right? I mess with all San Antonians. I say, if it's past 15 minutes, y'all not going. Y'all nah, it's too far. If it's 16 minutes, nope. I'm not going. They're like, you drove all the way? Wait, you live where? Oh, 16. Oh yeah, no, that's too far. You are all the way over. And so, but I get it. The city is so big that it's you really don't need to go to a certain area because your area already has all the stuff you need. So you really don't have to, trek to another area. So that's something that's been in this Texas heat, right? This San Antonio heat. Woo!
Yeah, you don't want to be driving that if you ain't got a good car, man. I'm telling you right now. That's part of the reason why you don't want to be driving 20 minutes in some big old heat, man. That's somebody banging on your window, man. Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it. The other part of it, man, San Antonio drivers
Oh, yeah.
Ooh. We don't want to go there, man. But let's just say this whole yield and, merge. I mean, my God. If you're in San Antonio, I'm just going to let that just simmer on the stove because you already know what's going down. Welcome to the San Antonio Drivers. When you started to, let's go into the contest that you, this is right here, make right here. Tell us about the contest that you were a part of and how that started to open up doors for you.
Yeah. So, and this is how random it was, right? I love sports. Like, we travel to different stadiums, right? I'm trying to work in sports. So my husband actually was like, listen to the Blitz, right? He's like, oh, listen to this hater having this contest. We should both do it, right? And I'm like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? It wasn't even something that I was like, all right. But he's like, okay, let's do it. So finally, it's like the last day of the contest. And we're both supposed to go do it. I got off work early to go do it. And my husband, he hurt his back. So he's like, no, I can't go. I'm like, okay, I'm already off work. I'm just going to go do it, right? And he had told me it was like a 5-minute audition. So I'm preparing this whole thing, right? I walk in there and I thought they were just going to hear my voice. I walk in there and like, oh no, it's like a 30-second thing. And we're going to record you. Like, we're going to see your face. I was like, okay. So I go back to my car and I'm like, okay, let me chop all that down. Like, what do I want to talk about? And I probably still get flack for this. So this is at the time when all the dynamic duos came, right? So we got AD and LeBron, we got Harden and Westbrook, and then we got Kawhi and we got PG-13, right? So I was like, all right, we're going to talk about these. Who did I think was going to be the most like dynamic, or let me just say fun to watch is what I meant. So, and I'm a Lakers fan, right? So AD, LeBron, cool, but I just thought James Harden and Westbrook together was just going to be, ooh, right? And so I did my little 30-second clip on that. As soon as I did it, the guy was like, you did great. You were great. You did great. And I was like, okay, right? I was like, you're a little nervous and everything like that. I leave the contest. It's about basically a week later. I'm at work. I get a call from a radio station. They're like, hey, can you come to this bar? And I'm like, okay. And so I call my husband like, hey, they're telling me to come to this. And he's like, I think I already heard your name already. You're going to be in the top 10. And I'm like, what? So I'm like, okay. So I'm working, right? So I was like, hey, I need to leave early. So like, okay, cool. So I get there and you're waiting, right? And all this anticipation. We're at Slackers, the one by North Star Mall. And I'm like, okay. And so sure enough, they call my name and I'm in the top 10. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, I just honestly did it on a whim. The funny thing though, is going back, like when I was going to college, I actually wanted to be on the radio. I wanted to be a DJ, but I thought, oh, that's kind of impractical. Maybe not. And I should just go to regular college. But I really did have that. So right from there, it was, hey, you got to get people to vote for you. You got to be in the top 4. Okay. So now you're like, here we go. And you can only vote once a day. Right. So that night I leave. I'm like, okay, here we go. Start asking people to vote for me, people at work, calling them. I even tried to go to our social media people at work to be like, is there a way we could blast this? Like, I had one of my friends being my social media person, like, all right, let's do a video now, go live, tell them to vote for you. So it was work. Me and the one guy were literally going back 1 and 2. And then right before the week that they were going to do the contest, you were going to go on the radio twice. So the first one, and I came in there and I'm just going to say I knocked it out of the park. I really do believe I was very comfortable on the mic. The Rob from the Blitz was like, you're like a cup of coffee on a long day, just a lot of energy, right? A lot of bursts. And I feel like when you're on the radio, you have to have a personality, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
you have to be, you gotta have a personality. That's the whole point. You can't just be like any other person.
You gotta be yourself. Right? That is the key right there. Y'all want to take some notes real quick, man? I mean, the first one on top, the headliner in all caps is be yourself, man. You only got one fingerprint, man. Well, I should say you got like, you should have 10, but I'm just saying you got your own unique individualized self. So
yeah, no, for sure. And I was just me, a lot of energy, very outgoing. And the voting was going that night. I think I ended up, like me and the guy that were going first and second, I think I ended up I think I just fell right back to second. So I was in the top 4. The next day we go to Slackers again, the one by Northside Mall. And and we do our thing. Everybody gets another chance to be on the radio. And I was like, okay, I was like, I don't know. It's the top 4. We're going to see what happens. So I do my thing on my radio. I have my friends come support me, cheer me on. To think that now, if you were the actual winner, you would get to be on your own show on ESPN. They don't just like pay you, but like you get to be on your own show. And the guy who won the year before in 2018, he actually was so good that he got his own show and was in another state. So that's how good he was that they offered him a show. So now you're like, man, this could really blow up, right? All in all, it comes down to it, and I get first runner up. But that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I made it this far, right? And to be the only woman, right, out of 100 men, over 100 men who had, did all the auditions and everything like that. But let me say this, how God works. I literally walked out of that and I got a text from my friend Greg, and he was like, hey, the Houston Texans have an open spot for a media communications runner. Omar is going to email you. And I said, look, guys, like this door closed, but I'm opening this other one for you. And so it was the best. I mean, it was like second place, but then look, here's this other opportunity. And I did the interview later that week or the next week with the Houston Texans, crushed it. They offered me the job on the spot. You know what I mean? So that happened from that. So it was kind of like, oh, wow. Okay. So, I didn't get it. But I got a job with the Houston Texans. So that was pretty cool.
By the way, you listen to I Am Refocused Radio, talking to Jenaia and Nicole, and you basically are painting a picture of the process. I mean, the process to you having, this, I would say, dream goal. I'm not putting words in your mouth, but I take it as a dream and goal to be in that communicational world of radio land and having that platform to basically, like I told you behind the scenes when I first met you, was you're throwing a party for the audience, man. Like you're catching that vibe and they're catching that vibe, and it's something that just flows. So for someone out there who aspires to be like you, and they want to have their own show, maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's the radio show or whatever, what words of wisdom will you give to them based on what you've been able to embrace from your own experience?
Yeah, like so in all of this, I wanted to start off with the podcast, right? And then God said, why can't you be on the radio, right? We don't limit yourself, right? I asked people are just like, what if you could do whatever you want, if you could have your dream, right? What is it? And they tell me, I'm like, well, why does that have to be a dream, right? Why can't you attain that? Why can't you go for that? It doesn't have to be too big. There is nothing too big for God. Like he can do anything. So if you want it, you go get it, because you got to move, right? He'll do stuff for you, but we got to act on it, right? And just go and follow it. Let me tell you a very a humbling moment. But last week I went to the Sweet 16 Baylor versus Michigan, and there was all these mothers and daughters watching the basketball game. And I'm with my mom, and there's a mother and daughter right in front of us, African-American mother and daughter. And the mom's like, oh, we play AAU. My daughter does. She wants to go to Baylor. And so my mom's like, oh, my daughter has her own radio show, right? And I give them my card. And I believe in the midst of that, they kind of looked me up. And at the end, when the game was over, the mom was like, can my daughter take a picture with you? Because, yeah, right. That's a very I didn't see that coming. But she was like, that's right. I want my daughter to know she could do anything, whether it's go be in sports, right, a broadcaster, if she doesn't end up, playing professional WNBA basketball. But basically in that moment, it was you are an inspiration to the next Black girl, right? I'm saying I'm the first African-American woman to host her own sports radio show in San Antonio. And now it's look, go take a picture with her. Cause she it was a very, it just let me know that I'm going in the right direction and just keep grinding, right? Because God didn't say it was going to be easy, right? He didn't say it was all just, you're going to get a bunch of files, everything's going to, but I'm working and I'm grinding. So everybody out there, all the women out there, all the young girls, just dream big and know that that's attainable. It's not just a dream, right? It's not just, you can have it, you can do it. God can open doors, but you got to move. Okay. And I know it's scary, right? It's scary to be all right, I'm going to take this shot. because it seems so big. But go for it, and go for it early. Because I sit here and say at 19 years old, I wanted to be on the radio, but I was like, I don't know. You know what I mean? That's not practical, right? Because it seemed too big. But, you know, I want to say how old I really am, but a lot of years later, God brought it back around. He's like, I told you before, but you didn't think you were, but you are. So go ahead and do it. So dream is big. There's no limit. Don't limit yourself.
And before we let you go, there's one thing I want to touch on what you were touching on. You were talking, and I couldn't help but think a wise person shared with me, you know, be careful what you ask God, because sometimes we don't understand the weight that comes with the gift and the goal and the dream, whatever you want to call it, because, you know, it's heavy to have that influence and that platform to be able to touch so many lives, but still address that personal listener that, man, they might be listening because you're helping them get through that week. You know, whether it's you talking about this, you know, big story in the sports world, you spill your guts and tell everybody what's going on in your life and become human. What do you say to that individual out there who they want so bad to live their dream, but they just feel like they frustrated and they feel like they go in circles, but they maybe from someone else's perspective, they are doing good. They just gotta keep at it. Yeah,
that's hard. And I'm gonna just have a moment of vulnerability right now and say that in this maybe last week or two, seeing myself grinding in me and like, are the investment on your return, the return on your investment, right? And being like, man, I feel like I'm doing all this stuff and I'm working so hard, and us wanting it to come quicker, right? But know that it's in his timing. It's in God's timing. Just keep doing what you're doing. He didn't say it was all going to happen for you overnight, right? And so you just got to keep at it. And then you're going to have those hard days where you feel like, look, I don't really like, you know what I mean? But know that that's
the results.
Right, it's the result.
The microwave is broken.
Yeah, exactly, Shemaiah. Like it just, it's just keep going. You will have those moments of, man, I'm working so hard and it doesn't seem like I'm getting the exact results what I need. But know that you just keep on grinding, you keep on going. You believe in yourself, and you have people that believe in you, and just keep working, man. Keep going for it. And so, always learn, try to get better, talk to people, get a mentor, you know what I mean? So people you get talked to, make sure, hey, how did this sound? What did you think? You know, all of that. And just keep doing it. Just keep grinding.
Another wise person told me, where the mind goes, the body follows. Ooh, and I like that, because if you're not careful, you can think your way out of blessings and opportunities, because like you just said, there's going to be storms, there's going to be situations, and you can get flustered, you can get why me, or you can get, hey, what's going on? This microwave's broken. I thought I was going to be successful tomorrow at 3 p.m. and it's like midnight and I have nothing going on yet. Well, sometimes it's the roots that have to go deeper before it blooms, you know. So results, talk to the audience one more time before I let you go. The importance of going through the process, building momentum.
Yeah.
I know that was a deep question, 10-foot water.
The importance of the process. So when you first make this decision that you're going to go for it, right? You know that you have to know it is going to be a treacherous road. And when you know yourself and how far and how deep you have to dig, right? To get something you've never done before, right? This is a different result. So you have to dig deep inside of yourself and push yourself like you've never pushed yourself before. Becoming essentially a public figure, having people know about you, being social media, it's a whole world and it's a whole different life. And from somebody who was low key on social media, who didn't do, you know what I mean? And talking to social media people and getting out, like it's a whole process, and know that you just keep working at it. The engagement's going to come, the followers are going to cut, like the whole, just dig as deep as you can so you can get the result that will for sure come one day.
And I know it's supposed to be serious, but I can't help it, man. On this show, I like to poke fun. I couldn't help when you're saying that. Just visioning somebody being mad at the world because, like, the crowd didn't show up yet. Yeah. And wouldn't it be funny is because that person didn't get that ticket to get that flight to that destination where the crowd's waiting for them to show up. Like, I feel like people are waiting for individuals to step the game up and to push themselves because nothing in this world is free, except for things that are not really, good quality. But, it takes that mind and that discipline to say, you know what, no matter what happens, I'm going to keep going after it no matter what, because, things can set you back, right? But those things are temporary. Only thing that's permanent is your choices. So if you decide every day, man, I may have one person liking it, or I might have two people telling me they listen to my show. Those two people, they matter. Because you can have 20,000 people and maybe they don't say nothing. Or you can have two people and that's your grassroots. And before you know it, it multiplies as you go on that journey of your life. So I ain't trying to be Dr. Phil Deep today, but we had the honor of talking to Jenaia and Nicole. How can people keep in touch with you and follow you on social media? Yes,
guys. Follow me on social media at Jenaia Nicole. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, okay? JeNaiaNicole, Jenaia Nicole, okay? And then follow the show at SBTN 930, okay? The show is Monday nights at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. And we also go live on Facebook as well. And the next day, it is turned into a podcast. So Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, guys, check us out. We are there. Sports by the Numbers with your host, Jenaia Nicole.
And what day and what time? Just in case someone in the back got waxed. Mondays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time on 9:30 a.m. The Answer, San Antonio, okay? San Antonio. There's a couple 9:30 a.m. The Answers, but 9:30 a.m. The Answer, San Antonio. Please don't wake up 9:30 a.m. in the morning, man. Don't get that confused, man, because I've seen that and heard that so many times. So once again, for the person in the way back, what time on Monday? What time on Monday? 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, p.m. The station is called 9:30 a.m. The Answer, San Antonio. That's perfect. And she said it right. I'm just messing with her because there's some people who get confused when you start saying the station. No, they do. They're like, it was on at 9:30? In the morning? Dang, what y'all talking about? Y'all trying to compete with, some people, I can't say the names, but some people on ESPN? Like, come on, man. But no, on a serious note, thanks to Jenaia and Nicole being on I Am Refocused Radio today. And what would you say to anybody? Last words. Guys, listen to the show, but also follow your dreams, okay? It doesn't just have to be a dream. Like, it starts as a dream, but it can be your reality. So go get it, stay hungry, grind, and do your thing. Well, like we say on every single show, man, y'all know the drill. Keep God first, stay focused, and peace.